An archaeological discovery changed the way scientists understand one of the most important transformations in human history. Long before farms, cities, and written records, our ancestors gathered around fire and began a practice that would reshape the human body, behavior, and survival itself, cooking. But why did humans start heating their food when other animals survived without this remarkable habit? Archaeological evidence from ancient hearths, burned remains, and stone tools reveals that cooking was not simply a way to make meals more enjoyable. It may have helped early humans extract more energy from food, spend less time chewing, and develop new social behaviors around shared meals. The story of cooking is the story of how a simple discovery influenced the path of human evolution. In this documentary, we will explore the evidence behind this extraordinary change and uncover how fire and food became connected to the way humans live today. If you enjoy discovering the hidden origins of our species, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and tell us which country you are watching from. Your curiosity helps bring these ancient stories back to life. Section 1. The First Transformation. For millions of years, human ancestors survived by eating the foods available in their environments, just as countless other animals do. They searched for fruits, plants, roots, insects, and animal remains, relying on strength, instinct, and adaptation. But at some point in the distant past, something changed. A simple act began to separate humans from almost every other species on Earth. Our ancestors started using fire to transform food. The question that scientists continue to explore is this: why did cooking become such a powerful advantage that it helped shape the future of humanity? The answer begins not with recipes or traditions, but with survival during a challenging prehistoric world. During the Upper Paleolithic, between approximately 40,000 and 12,000 years ago, humans lived through dramatic environmental changes. The last ice age created cold landscapes where finding enough energy was essential. Hunter-gatherers depended on mobility, cooperation, and knowledge of their surroundings. Every decision about food could influence survival. However, the origins of cooking likely began much earlier than the Upper Paleolithic. Archaeologists believe that controlled fire use may have appeared hundreds of thousands of years ago among earlier human species. Evidence from ancient hearths, burned animal bones, and changes in stone tools suggests that fire was gradually becoming a regular part of human life. These discoveries do not show the exact moment when the first meal was cooked, but they reveal a long process of experimentation and adaptation. One of the most fascinating discoveries comes from archaeological sites where researchers have found traces of ancient fires surrounded by signs of human activity. Charred bones and heated stones provide clues that early humans were not only encountering natural fires, but learning to control and use them. Experimental archaeology has also shown that cooking changes food in important ways. Meat becomes easier to tear apart and digest, while many plants become softer and more accessible. This means that fire was not just a source of warmth or protection, it became a tool for changing the relationship between humans and their environment. But what made cooked food so different from raw food? Scientists studying human evolution suggest that cooking may have helped provide more usable energy for meals. When food is heated, the body often spends less energy processing it. Over generations, this may have influenced human biology, including changes related to digestion and the amount of energy available for a growing brain. Some researchers have proposed that cooking played a role in supporting the evolution of larger brains, although the exact relationship remains an active area of scientific discussion. Life around early fires was also about more than nutrition. A hearth created a place where humans could gather, share food, and strengthen social connections. Around the flames, knowledge could be passed from one generation to another. Techniques for preparing food, making tools, and surviving harsh environments could be learned through observation and cooperation. The fire may have become one of the first places where human communities developed stronger bonds. The discovery of cooking was not a single dramatic moment when humans suddenly changed their way of life. It was a gradual transformation built through countless experiments across generations. Each controlled fire, each improved technique, and each shared meal represented another step in a journey that would eventually influence every human society that followed. Today, cooking remains one of the most universal human behaviors on Earth. From family meals to cultural traditions, the simple act of preparing food still connects people across continents. But before kitchens, restaurants, and modern technology existed, there was only a small group of humans gathered near a fire, discovering that food could become something entirely new. Section 2. The fire that changed everything. The story of cooking begins with a mystery hidden deep inside the archaeological record. Fire disappears quickly from the landscape, leaving behind only traces that must be carefully interpreted by researchers. Unlike stone tools or bones, flames leave no permanent object behind. What remains are small clues, layers of ash, burned stones, altered bones, and ancient fireplaces preserved beneath the ground. Through these fragile pieces of evidence, archaeologists have been able to reconstruct how early humans gradually learned to control one of nature's most powerful forces. The earliest evidence of human interaction with fire comes from sites much older than the Upper Paleolithic. Researchers have discovered possible hearths and burned materials associated with earlier human species, including groups that lived hundreds of thousands of years ago. Some of these findings are debated because natural fires can sometimes create similar patterns. This uncertainty is important because it shows how carefully scientists must separate evidence from interpretation. Archaeology does not reveal a perfect record of the past. Instead, it allows researchers to build explanations from many different clues. One of the strongest ideas supported by anthropology is that cooking was not only a technological change but also a social transformation. Before regular cooking, obtaining and eating food was likely a more individual activity influenced by immediate survival needs. But when humans began gathering around controlled fires, food preparation became a shared experience. The hearth created a central place where individuals could cooperate, communicate, and develop stronger social relationships. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer communities have provided valuable comparisons that help researchers understand possible patterns in prehistoric life. While no living group can be considered a direct example of ancient humans, ethnographic studies show that food preparation often involves cooperation between different members of a community. Gathering resources, processing food, maintaining fires, and sharing meals require knowledge and coordination. These observations help scientists understand why cooking may have influenced not only human nutrition, but also human society. The archaeological evidence suggests that maintaining a fire required planning. A flame needed fuel, protection from weather, and constant attention. Early humans had to understand which materials burned efficiently and how to preserve embers when starting a new fire was difficult. In cold environments of the Ice Age, this knowledge would have been especially valuable. A reliable fire could provide warmth during freezing nights, improve access to food, and create a safer environment for resting. But perhaps the most surprising discovery about cooking is that it changed the chemistry of food itself. Heating food breaks down certain structures, making nutrients easier for the body to access. Cooked meat becomes softer and some plants become less difficult to digest. This transformation allowed humans to gain more energy from the same resources. In an environment where survival depended on obtaining enough calories, this advantage could have had enormous consequences. The relationship between cooking and human evolution has been widely discussed among scientists. One influential idea, known as the cooking hypothesis, suggests that preparing food with fire may have contributed to changes in human anatomy and behavior. Researchers have proposed that cooked foods may have supported the high energy demands of the human brain, which requires a significant amount of energy compared with other organs. However, scientists continue to investigate exactly how much influence cooking had compared with other factors such as social cooperation, tool use, and environmental adaptation. The remains found at archaeological sites also reveal that early humans were not simply burning food accidentally. Patterns of burned animal bones suggest that some groups were selecting specific parts of animals and processing them in intentional ways. The discovery of cut marks alongside evidence of heating helps researchers understand that food preparation involved multiple stages. Hunting, butchering, cooking, and sharing food were connected activities within a larger survival strategy. The development of cooking also changed the rhythm of daily life. A fire created a place where people could spend more time together after the challenges of hunting and gathering. Around the hearth, humans could repair tools, prepare materials, care for children, and exchange information. The fire extended the productive hours of the day beyond sunlight and provided a setting where social learning could happen. In this way, cooking may have helped create conditions where human culture could grow more complex. Another fascinating aspect of prehistoric cooking is that it required experimentation. Early humans did not have written instructions or scientific knowledge about nutrition. They learned through observation and experience. They discovered which foods improved with heat, which materials worked best for cooking, and how different techniques affected taste and texture. Over thousands of generations, this accumulated knowledge became part of human tradition. The evidence from archaeology and anthropology reveals that cooking was much more than a method for making food safer or easier to eat. It represented a new relationship between humans and the natural world. Fire allowed our ancestors to transform resources around them, creating opportunities that were unavailable to other animals. The same basic principle continues today. Every modern kitchen is connected to those ancient discoveries made beside early fires. The tools have changed, the environments have changed, and the foods have changed, but the fundamental idea remains the same. Humans use knowledge and technology to transform nature into something that supports life. The first cooked meals were not just moments of survival. They were early steps toward the world humans would eventually create. Section 3. Learning the language of fire. The discovery of cooking was not the result of a single invention or a sudden breakthrough. It was a gradual process that developed through observation, experimentation, and adaptation. Early humans did not wake up one day knowing how to prepare food with fire. Instead, generations of experience slowly transformed fire from a natural phenomenon into one of the most important tools in human history. The path from simply encountering flames to intentionally cooking meals reveals how human intelligence evolved through curiosity and problem-solving. Long before humans controlled fire, natural flames were already part of the prehistoric landscape. Lightning strikes, volcanic activity, and wildfires would have created opportunities for early humans to observe the effects of heat on plants and animals. A piece of meat exposed to fire changed in appearance, smell, texture, and durability. These simple observations may have encouraged experimentation. Researchers believe that early humans gradually learned that fire could do more than provide warmth. It could transform the resources around them. Archaeologists studying ancient sites have found evidence that humans were collecting and maintaining fire rather than simply using naturally occurring flames. The presence of repeated hearths in the same location suggests planning and regular use. These ancient fireplaces revealed that fire became something humans depended on and organized their lives around. Maintaining a flame required knowledge of available fuels, environmental conditions, and techniques for keeping embers alive. The process of cooking likely developed through trial and error. Early humans had to discover which foods benefited from heat and which methods produced better results. A hunter returning with an animal had to decide how to process the meat, where to place it near the fire, and how long to expose it to heat. Plants also presented challenges because different species reacted differently when cooked. Some became softer and easier to consume, while others required specific preparation methods. This gradual learning process shows an important aspect of human evolution. Our species does not only adapt biologically, humans also adapt through accumulated knowledge. A behavior that begins as an individual discovery can become a tradition passed between generations. Cooking was likely one of the earliest examples of cultural knowledge being preserved and improved over time. Anthropologists believe that the development of cooking may have influenced how early human groups organized themselves. Preparing food required time and attention, meaning individuals often had to cooperate. Someone needed to collect fuel, another person might prepare food, and others could contribute through hunting or gathering. These shared responsibilities may have strengthened social connections and encouraged more complex forms of communication. One fascinating area of research involves the relationship between cooking and human anatomy. Compared with other primates, humans have smaller teeth and jaws relative to body size, as well as digestive systems adapted to a high-energy diet. Some scientists argue that the increased consumption of cooked food may have supported these changes by reducing the physical effort required to process meals. Softer, energy-rich foods could have allowed humans to spend less time chewing and more time engaging in other activities. However, researchers continue to debate the exact timeline of these changes. The archaeological record does not provide a complete picture, and evidence from different regions suggests that fire use developed in complex ways. Some groups may have relied on cooking earlier than others, depending on their environment and available resources. Human evolution was not a straight path, but a series of adaptations shaped by different challenges. The development of cooking also changed how humans interacted with their surroundings. Raw foods limited what could be consumed efficiently, but fire expanded the range of available resources. Foods that were difficult to digest could become more useful after heating. This meant that humans were no longer limited only by what nature provided directly. They could modify their environment through technology. Experimental archaeology has helped researchers understand these ancient techniques. Scientists have recreated prehistoric cooking methods using stone tools, natural materials, and controlled fires. These experiments demonstrate that early humans could have prepared food using simple methods such as roasting meat over flames or heating food with hot stones. While these experiments cannot perfectly recreate the past, they provide valuable insights into what was possible. Perhaps the most important transformation was not the food itself, but the behavior surrounding it. Cooking created moments when humans gathered together. The fire became a place where experiences were shared and knowledge was transferred. Young members of a group could learn by watching others prepare food, maintain flames, and make decisions. This connection between cooking and learning may have helped strengthen the cultural systems that distinguish humans from other species. The story of cooking is therefore not simply the story of fire meeting food. It is the story of humans learning to control a powerful natural resource and use it to overcome challenges. Through countless small discoveries, our ancestors developed a habit that influenced their bodies, their communities, and their future. Every time people prepare a meal today, they are continuing a tradition that began thousands of generations ago. Modern kitchens may look completely different from prehistoric hearths, but the fundamental idea remains unchanged. Humans take the materials provided by nature and transform them through knowledge, cooperation, and creativity. The first cooked meals were the beginning of a relationship with food that still defines humanity. Section 4. The energy behind humanity. Cooking was more than a new way to prepare food. It represented a major shift in the relationship between humans, nature, and survival. When our ancestors learned to use fire to transform what they ate, they gained access to a new source of energy that may have influenced the course of human evolution. The flames of prehistoric fires did not only change meals. They may have helped shape the bodies, behaviors, and societies that eventually became uniquely human. One of the greatest challenges faced by early humans was obtaining enough energy to survive. The human body, especially the brain, requires a significant amount of energy compared with other organs. As human brains became larger throughout evolution, our ancestors needed more reliable sources of calories. Scientists have investigated whether cooking played a role in meeting this growing demand by making food easier to digest and allowing the body to gain more energy from each meal. The cooking hypothesis, proposed by anthropologist Richard Wrangham, suggests that regular consumption of cooked food may have contributed to important evolutionary changes. According to this idea, heating food could have reduced the amount of energy required for digestion while increasing the energy available for the body. Although researchers continue to debate the exact influence of cooking, many agree that food preparation was an important development in human history. The evidence supporting this connection comes from several fields of science. Paleoanthropologists study changes in human anatomy, including reductions in tooth size and changes in jaw structure compared with earlier human ancestors. These differences suggest that humans became adapted to processing softer foods. Archaeologists also study ancient fire sites to understand when and how controlled cooking became part of human behavior. However, cooking alone did not create modern humans. Evolution is shaped by many interconnected factors, including climate changes, tool development, cooperation, and adaptation to different environments. Scientists believe that cooking was one piece of a much larger puzzle. It provided new opportunities, but it worked together with other abilities that helped humans survive. One surprising consequence of cooking was the way it changed daily time management. Raw food often requires long periods of chewing and processing. By preparing food with heat, humans could spend less time physically breaking down meals. This may have allowed more time for other activities such as making tools, caring for children, exploring new territories, and strengthening social relationships. The influence of cooking can also be seen in human dependence on cooperation. A fire was not useful if it could not be maintained. Someone had to collect fuel, protect the flames, and prepare food. These tasks encouraged individuals to work together. Over generations, shared responsibilities may have contributed to stronger social bonds and more advanced communication systems. Anthropologists studying human societies today often emphasize that food is not only about nutrition. Meals create opportunities for interaction, learning, and cultural expression. While modern communities are very different from prehistoric hunter-gatherer groups, the basic connection between food and social life remains recognizable. The tradition of gathering around a meal may have roots that extend back to ancient fires. Another important evolutionary impact of cooking was the expansion of available food sources. Heat allowed humans to use resources that were previously difficult to consume efficiently. Certain plants became more accessible, and animal foods could be prepared in ways that improved their nutritional value. This flexibility may have helped humans adapt to a wide variety of environments across the planet. Archaeological discoveries from different regions show that human groups developed diverse approaches to food preparation. Some used open fires, while others may have used heated stones or natural containers. These techniques demonstrate creativity and adaptability. Humans were not simply surviving in their environments. They were actively modifying the way they interacted with them. Fire also influenced human migration. As populations moved into colder regions, the ability to maintain warmth and prepare food became increasingly valuable. During the last ice age, when many environments were harsh and unpredictable, control over fire would have provided important advantages. It allowed humans to expand into places where survival without this technology would have been much more difficult. The effects of cooking continue to shape human life today. The biological changes that occurred thousands of generations ago are still reflected in the way humans eat, socialize, and organize communities. Every kitchen, every shared meal, and every culinary tradition carries a connection to a time when our ancestors first discovered that fire could transform more than food. The story of cooking reveals something fundamental about humanity. Our species became successful, not only because we adapted to the world around us, but because we learned to change our relationship with that world. A simple flame became a tool for survival, a place for cooperation, and possibly one of the forces that helped create the humans we are today. Section 5. The Ancient Habit That Remains. Thousands of years have passed since humans first gathered around controlled fires, yet the influence of that discovery is still present in almost every part of modern life. Cooking may seem like an ordinary daily activity, something done in kitchens with advanced tools and countless ingredients, but its origins reach back to a time when survival depended on understanding the power of fire. The meals prepared today are connected to one of humanity's oldest adaptations, a tradition that began long before agriculture, cities, and written history. The archaeological evidence shows that cooking was not simply a practical solution for hunger. It became a foundation for human behavior. Early fires created places where people could gather, exchange knowledge, and strengthen relationships. The same basic idea continues today whenever humans come together around food. A family dinner, a celebration, or a shared meal between friends all reflect a pattern that may have begun beside prehistoric hearths. Anthropologists have long recognized that food carries meaning beyond nutrition. Across human societies, preparing and sharing meals is connected to identity, cooperation, and social connection. While modern cultures are incredibly diverse, the act of transforming raw materials into something shared remains a universal human behavior. This connection suggests that cooking is not only a biological adaptation, but also a cultural tradition passed through generations. One of the most fascinating aspects of cooking is how it changed the way humans interacted with the environment. Before fire was controlled, people depended more directly on the natural qualities of available foods. Cooking allowed humans to transform resources, making certain foods easier to consume and increasing the variety of possible diets. This ability to modify nature through technology became a defining characteristic of our species. The same principle can be seen throughout human history. After learning to control fire, humans continued developing new methods to improve survival and efficiency. Tools became more specialized, food preparation became more complex, and knowledge accumulated over generations. Cooking represents an early example of a larger human pattern: observing the world, discovering possibilities, and creating solutions through innovation. Modern science continues to explore how this ancient behavior shaped human evolution. Researchers study archaeological remains, ancient hearths, animal bones, and changes in human anatomy to better understand the relationship between fire, food, and biology. Although many questions remain, the evidence strongly suggests that cooking was one of the important developments that influenced the human journey. The importance of cooking can also be understood through the relationship between food and time. By making meals easier to process, cooking may have changed how humans spent their days. More efficient access to energy created opportunities for activities beyond immediate survival. Humans could invest more time in communication, learning, tool production, and social cooperation. These behaviors became essential parts of human development. Today, technology has transformed the way people prepare food, but the basic concept remains unchanged. A modern kitchen and a prehistoric fire may look completely different, yet both represent the same human ability to use knowledge to improve survival. The tools have evolved, but the connection between fire, food, and human creativity has remained remarkably consistent. Cooking also reminds us that many important human achievements began with simple observations. Our ancestors did not have modern science, laboratories, or written instructions. They learned by watching, testing, and adapting. They discovered that heat could change food, and that discovery opened a path toward new forms of cooperation and innovation. The story of cooking reveals a deeper truth about human evolution. Humanity was shaped not only by physical adaptations, but also by behaviors that connected individuals and communities. Fire provided warmth, but it also created a place where knowledge could be shared. Food provided energy, but it also created opportunities for connection. Together, these elements influence the development of human culture. The next time a meal is prepared, there is a hidden link to the distant past. The sounds, smells, and traditions surrounding food carry echoes of ancient moments when humans first discovered the power of cooking. The practice that began near prehistoric fires became one of the longest-lasting traditions in human history. Cooking changed the way humans survived, but it also changed the way humans lived together. It helped transform food into culture, fire into technology, and simple survival into a foundation for human society. The first cooked meals were not just a solution to hunger, they were a turning point that helped create the world we know today. If you enjoyed uncovering this forgotten chapter of human history, consider subscribing and joining us for more stories about the origins of our species. And if this discovery surprised you, leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. We would love to know where you are watching from and what part of human evolution you would like to explore next.